live. Ready? That one is on as well.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host from the NOP podcast. This is our first time doing this particular podcast, but right now we're going to do a Facebook Live as a test phase. And right now I have a brilliant young lady who is an author by the name of C. Miller. And she has written this book titled The Most Fascinating Person I've Never Met. It's a story of self-love, understanding, and redemption. You can go to the page, tag yourself in the page that's on this live feed. And you know, we're going to get into this book. It's going to be a short interview. And right now I'm going to introduce you to Miss Miller.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Charette.
So tell us about the book.
Well, the book is titled The Most Fascinating Person I've Never Met. And basically it's just a story of my life that I decided to share from my early years into early adulthood. And it's just, it's just talking about me and my experiences. And I didn't want it to focus on a particular subject, but it just kind of morphed into religion and growing up in the church, because that's where most of my experience has been. So it talks about that, and a lot of decisions that I made, and just having just dealing with different things throughout different phases of my life. So
what motivates you to write this book?
My main motivation, like I said, was just to get my story out, just to put my experiences on paper.
Okay.
That was my original motivation, was just for myself. But the more that I started writing, and the more that I started remembering things, it just kind of took on a life of its own.
Okay.
I guess you could say. And I know when I read it, when I finished it, it just kind of occurred to me that this book, this work, can really help a lot of people, in particular children.
Why you think Why you think it can help a lot of people? Would you get into that some if you don't mind?
Because I feel like a lot of people can relate. I do feel like it's relatable.
Okay.
And I know I'm not the only one with this story.
Okay. So tell us something about your background and your upbringing, and what it is that the effects of that has on you today, and why you think it's vital that young people read that book, as well as parents.
Okay. Well, my background is in the church. I was raised in the church. And
Christianity?
Christianity,
yes. Which denomination?
Which denomination?
Yes.
In particular, Apostolic and Pentecostal.
So, explain for the audience the unpacking of the Pentecostal and Apostolic, what that's about. What can you explain that? How does that differ from Baptist, Catholicism, and in the Christianity religion, there's about 666 divisions.
Right.
So explain the way you were brought up and the belief systems and so on and so forth.
Oh, well, you really you really want to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Apostolic and Pentecostalism. The main difference between Apostolic and Pentecostalism in the Baptist church, well, I'm just going to use Baptist as another denomination, is monotheism, and just believing that Jesus is God.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Okay.
But God is Jesus, and Jesus is God. So it's one. So instead of, like, baptism, for example, so instead of baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, we baptize in Jesus' name according to Acts 2:38. So that's the That's the main difference.
So that's okay. And what are some of the things that you were, as you grew up in this religion, and I guess you grew up in your parents, your grandparents and your siblings and your family members and close friends and associates, were they also part of this
Yes.
organized religion?
Yes.
So how did that affect you in regards to this piece of work? Because I've read this book,
Okay.
and when I started reading the book, and I said, what you have here is a jewel. You have a piece of gold, and you basically have to find and manufacture, engineer a form of behavior that can help young people that grew up kind of similar. Me being Muslim, I recommend it for Muslim children, because I've seen Muslim children go through similar pain because of beliefs,
Okay.
because of the way it's been preached, religion has been preached to us. And I have 3 daughters, 3 beautiful, wonderful daughters, and they were all born in Islam. You understand what I'm saying? So this is not an attack on any particular religion. I think all religion needs to be reevaluated, especially in regards to young people, because out from what I got from this book and from my own personal experiences, in religious thinking, organizations, young people are never considered. They're not. They're not considered by the parents. They're not considered by the people that are there to teach it. They're just not. So it makes children grow up kind of warped. And when they grow up warped, they actually become worse than the children, in some cases, that didn't grow up in a church or didn't grow up in a temple or masjid or mosque or synagogue. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, and I do, and you brought up some great points. I definitely do understand that. And that's part of the reason why I chose this photo of myself to
Okay.
place on the cover. I was probably 5 or 6 years old
Okay.
here, and I was born in the church.
Okay.
And when I say born, I don't mean literally, but when I mean born in the church,
Right.
from the year of 1980 until I was 27 years old, which
Okay.
is when I stopped going to church on a regular basis.
Okay.
That's all I knew. That's all we knew.
So how many days a week did you attend church?
Regularly, or Sundays you go to church all day, and then you have midweek service.
Okay.
And then of course if you have, revivals or anything, in between
So
there.
how many hours on Sunday did you spend at church?
So we got to Sunday school probably about 9 or 10 o'clock. And then, you stay in church until 2, maybe 3. And then you might have a second service. So you could be in church literally all day, 10 to 12 hours all day.
And how did
Or,
that
with an hour or two.
how did that affect your processes as far as getting along with non-church goers or non-believers? How did that affect you? You had to go to school, and things of that nature.
Well,
Making friends and
Well,
stuff like that.
I mean, being that, being born and raised, in it, I didn't know any better. And I had friends, but when we would talk, or, I would talk to, non-believers or, other, children at school, it was on the precipice of, okay, well, we can be friends, but eventually I'm going to invite you to my church. I'm going to get you saved, because you're lost, you're a sinner, and I want you to be saved.
Right.
So we've done that. When I say we, my brothers and sisters alike, we invited, friends to church, and we remain friends, but the friendship could only go, so far, because there's certain things that we weren't allowed to do.
Right.
Which I would consider now, normal activities, but football games, basketball games, going to the movies, things like that.
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
Right, no, none of that.
Right.
You know,
right.
especially if you don't believe like I do.
Right.
You
right.
know,
So they call that unevenly yoked.
Unequally yoked.
Yeah.
Yes.
One unequally yoked.
Right.
So take us into the book, and how you begin to discover, hey, this may be some fallacies. You know, fallacies mean, you know, untruth. And when you start getting into the root cause of the behavior, when a person begin to rebel or strike out, once you start telling me about that, you know, about your initial thoughts of becoming somewhat rebellious. When did you first, you know, notice that you had an energy of rebelliousness there?
That's a strong word.
I told you I'm pretty good. I'm damn
That's
good.
a strong word, rebellious.
Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. I'm damn good at this.
That is a strong word. Okay, well, I do want to start, and I do want to say that this is not an attack on any religious group, any particular set of people. This is not a bashing session. This is not a bashing book. This is about me.
Right.
I chose to write this about me and about my experiences. And if you can relate, good. And if you can't,
you don't have
then
to
that's
bash
fine
it.
too.
You can leave that to me.
Oh.
Yeah, you can leave that to me.
Okay, y'all heard that.
Yeah, you can leave that to me. I want this book read because, as I was telling this lady here, I want it read because our young people have been misled, misguided, and have been lied to by the preachers and scientists of religion, of all religions. And the world is in a state of confusion right today because of the lies. And when you raise children up improperly and you pay little attention to them as an individual, then you're really doing them a disservice. I was a victim of it myself. I was a parent. I didn't know any better. You know, we went to the temple. We did things that, you know, I thought I was the same way. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that when you don't know any better, you don't know any better. But when you know better, you do better. But as I began to realize some things just didn't add up. You know, I wasn't rebellious in that way. I just knew what the truth was. And you don't have to attack nobody. You don't have to do anything. You just have to stand on your truth. But children are not able to do that.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. And let me interject right there. I do agree with that because you take away their power of choice. And when I say power of choice, I mean, well, parents do have to instill, you know, a certain standards. You know, you do have to have rules. You do have to have discipline. You know, so you can have a moral code.
Right.
However, my experience, and I can say others alike, you know, with religion, no matter what it is, takes away that power of choice. And I've said it, and I'll say it again. Religion teaches you or tells you what to think, and it tells you who you are. It doesn't teach you what to think. It tells you what to think. Did I say that right?
I think you said it right.
Yeah.
But I want you to explain. I want you to explain the difference.
Okay, the difference is, it's taken away my ability or dumbing down my ability to make a choice, to make an informed decision. Like, for instance, if you know, I have the Bible, and the Bible is written in a certain vernacular, you know, thee, thou, thus. You know, if I'm 5 or 6 years old, I don't understand. I don't understand what I'm reading. I'm just learning how to read. You know, so I can't. Jesus loves me. This I know. You know, for the Bible tells me so. You know, so you're telling me because I can't pick it up and you know, read Revelations. I'm not gonna understand that. You know, so yes, we went to Sunday school. You know, and things like that, and learned, you know, stories of Jonah and the whale, and
Right.
Noah and the ark.
Right.
But now that I'm older, and I look at those stories and the biblical text from a historical point of view or scientific view, I have to question the validity of that. And that's just from my thinking mind.
So let me ask you a question. So between those ages where you were indoctrinated into that thinking process until you begin to abhor and reject that, what type of negative impact it had on your life, and what type of negative impact does it have on your life right today?
The negative impact.
Two things. What type of impact did it had? What type of impact does it have? Both.
Okay, the impact that it had, it took away my ability, and I can probably just wrap it up in one, but took away my ability to balance. And when I say balance, being that we weren't able to enjoy, like I would say, activities that I would consider to be normal, because we were taught, we don't go to the movies, we don't link up with unbelievers, you don't date somebody who doesn't believe like you do. It's like, okay, well, if you're telling me everything that I can't do, well then what can I do? So then when when I'm of age to kind of make decisions on my own, 15, 16, 17, or start questioning things like that, then I go too far. Because you don't have a balance. Either you retreat, you shut yourself off from everybody and everything,
Or you exceed.
or you all out.
Yeah. And that was your case.
A lot of times, yes.
Yes, that was your case.
And even so now, and well into my 40s.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why this book, this writing is important, because I want young people, and I know she wants young people to obey your parents without a shadow of a doubt. Do obey your parents, but because under your parents' authority and guide, that's all you can do. So this particular writing is going to be for young children, teenagers, and as well as parents, because I think the most important people that need to read this book, of course, are the children, but I put the parents right there with them.
And I would say, right, and I didn't look at it from that perspective until I shared the material with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that's important, because a lot of times, we would maybe not on purpose, but you might put undue pressure on your child.
Yes.
Or hold them up to a pedestal. Put them all the way up here with these unrealistic expectations, and that causes so much pressure. That causes so much anxiety, and that causes you can actually develop a spirit of schizophrenia, I do believe, and other mental problems, because you know what you want to do, and you know what your friends are doing, but then you know what your mama said you got to do, and your pastor said you got to do, and it's just like, that's a terrible mind game to play on a child and a young adult, because those children that that are fearful grow up to be fearful adults, and you can't function.
And the ones that are fearless, they grow up to be fearless adults with no balance.
No balance.
So if you got a fearless child that is suppressing their bravery, and then once they break free of that dogma, I call it occultism, then they have no government. They are uninhibited.
Uninhibited, right.
Uninhibited. Thank you. And they will go as far as they want to go.
Yep. As far as you just want to see. You just want to see what it is.
Yeah. So
so you can't. You don't have a happy median. You just going, like I said, I'm speaking for me. You don't have a happy median. You just gonna go all the way.
Buck wild. Yeah, buck wild. So when they start, when young people, I've worked with young people for 40 years up until recently, And some of the stories that I've heard, you know, as well as what I've seen from my own community, being a Muslim. You know, I see children leave the temple, you know, leave the building, and, you know, they are ostracized, and they've made it seem like they are no good. You know, I've seen parents abandon their children, you know, their siblings abandon them, you know, and because of the food that's standing on the rostrum.
And families are broken up.
Families are broken up behind
it.
Yes.
Splitting right behind this.
So this is, again, I'm dealing with the critical point. God put this in your mind and in your heart to write this book. From your experience, you manufactured or created the spirit to do it. The spirit didn't just jump in you. That's another misnomer. That's a myth. We're not controlled by no spirit. We're controlled by our thinking. The only spirit that controls us is the one that we fall victim to, that we have no control. Once you understand control, then you know that it's all mental, that it's not spiritual. Because when you have to produce the spirit, and when you read this book, you're going to see that the spirit that you produced out of your thinking, which came from what? Your experiences.
Right.
Now, turn it around and you put that in a positive light. Just imagine you giving a child, by the time they leave the mother's breast, and now that boy or girl, that whole idiotic situation with religion is reversed to that of one of intelligence. Because in religious thinking, religious people do not think. They're like politicians. That's why they're the two worst people in our community. In the black community, it's the preacher and the goddamn politician. The preacher, juicy mouth preachers, and the no good politician. They're the worst in the black community. And the intellectual come next. The preacher and the politician. They are the two worst people in the black community. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? And I don't care who they are. Because they always have to carry this burden that they are some form of authoritative figure. And then the parents, led by the weaker part of man, which is the woman, she is the number one recruiter for this.
Well, once again, we're not taught how to think. We're told what to think. And when you ask questions, and you're questioning, you know, your pastor or your Sunday school teacher, or even your parents for that matter, and if they, and I'm talking about, you know, back then before the internet, because the internet hasn't always been here. And if you ask a question that they can't answer, what do they say? Well,
you're disobeying God.
That, and also, we don't question God.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they both saying the same thing.
Right. So,
you know, you questioning God, you rebellious, you don't believe, you hard-headed,
right.
You're a sinner, you're going to hell.
Right.
You know,
right.
So now you telling a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old adolescent child, boy or girl, boy and girl, that they going to a fucking hell.
I'm going to hell. Right. And I've seen,
because they ask you a question.
Because I ask you a question.
And because your dumb ass is not able to give them the right answer.
Ooh-wee.
Oh yeah, we going blood raw here now. You understand what I'm saying? So because I read this book.
Yes, sir.
And I've been in the community working with young people longer than you've been living almost.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? And I've seen a lot of trauma. When I read this book, I couldn't put it down. And I called my daughter. I said, I'm gonna get these books, and we're gonna do a book signing for you. And I know you want to kind of gloss over your experiences, and you got a right to do that. But I'm going to be like an agitator. You know, I mean, in the washing machine there's an agitator, right? Well, what does the agitator do? Get the goddamn dirt
Break
out.
it up, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that's what this. You have to agitate this because when you look at young people, be they black, white, whomever, and they fall into this religious thinking, it messes them up because you're not giving them any hope of a great future outside of those four walls.
And that's true, and that's a great point. And I, even myself, I did not plan for the future because you're always told, you know not the day nor the hour, that the Son of Man is going to appear. So that's all I'm hearing from 1980, up until, every Sunday and every Wednesday, when, the Lord is coming back, Jesus is soon to come. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't need to plan to go to college, or I don't need to plan for retirement, because we're going to be caught up to right. Jesus coming any day now. And I took that and I internalized that. I believed that. So I didn't make any plans to go to college. I didn't. And I think, no, I didn't because
I'm laughing to keep from getting really angry.
But that's where my mind was, because I was so focused on the Lord is coming back, and I just got to live right, and I don't want to sin, because if the recording angel is writing down everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm thinking, and I don't want to miss the rapture, and I don't want to go to hell, so I just got to be.
And you was in hell the whole time.
I didn't know that.
Of course. That's why this is important, because you got to free the captive believer. You have to free these captives. And some of these adults, they are too fearful to challenge the status quo.
Right.
See, this all came to us, and I don't care who hear this, all this religious doctrine, this religious nonsense, came to us out of slavery. So I'm going to help you do this. Hey, Goody, what's going on, cousin? So this book is titled The Holy Bible. She's one of my clients, Goody. She's neither family nor friend. She's a client. But she can become a friend. You make friends as you go along. So in this book, you first open it up. Miss Miller, if you don't mind, read that. What it says.
The Holy Bible, Old and New Testaments, in the King James Version.
Stop right there. Who the hell was King James?
He was a homosexual and a pedophile.
Okay, what else?
That's all
all you know, right?
now.
That's all you know.
Yes.
Okay. So would you have Boy George or Elton John translating the Bible? Or Little Richard? Right. He also, participated in incest. Right? That's King James for you now.
Yes.
All right?
Right.
Okay. Keep reading.
Translated out of the original tongues, and with previous translations, diligently compared and revised.
Okay, translated out of what?
The original tongues.
Does the Spirit have tongues?
The Spirit?
Does the Spirit have a tongue?
No.
No. Okay, so you know why it took you long to answer that?
I had to think about that.
Why? Because of that damn religion.
Yes, because
the Spirit got no
you
tongue.
speak in tongues as the Spirit of
I
God.
know, ain't no Spirit got no damn tongue. People got tongues. Got me?
Yes, sir.
So, original means what? First. So you got to ask yourself, who are the original people? And why was it diligently compared and revised? What the word, you don't have to open this book up. You don't have to go to Genesis. You don't have to go to Revelation. Just go look at that. But we were so blind, deaf, and dumb. So you begin to look at your parents and you go, oh shit, I got to go further than my parents. So this pain of slavery, suffering, and death, it didn't start with your mother and father. It didn't start with my mother and father. It
No.
started with this some bitch right here, King James.
Right. And they only taught us. They only taught me what they knew.
Now we're talking.
So, you know, it's not.
So,
it's
but
not
you,
their fault.
so, and they, so this slavery religion has been handed down to us as black people since we've been here. When we first got here, they wouldn't allow us to read. Am I right?
No, you're right.
Okay. So he went to work to do what? To keep us in slavery. And by the time they finished with this, they say, okay, now you can go read it. And there you go, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Jackson, because by now they don't took away our original names and gave us their slave name. And they said, you become a pastor. And we're going to give you pork chops and pork and juice, and you be a hot dog eater, chitlin eater, and you're going to have butter biscuits, and you're going to be the overseer of your own people. That's what's going on right today. Then with Martin Luther King and all that old integration stuff, now you got white preachers in black churches. Some people even go to white preachers. I say, where's Jeffrey Dahmer when you need him? And I mean it just like I said. But Islam, people do the same thing with Islam. So I ain't attacking Christianity. I'm attacking religious thinking, and you taking away the greatness of young people because you won't tell them the truth.
Right.
I mean, so, oh, the book is over there.
Here you go.
So this book right here, I suggest you go and get it. See, I told you, ain't many people gonna come on here.
Okay.
Told you that coming. You know, if I was doing something funny and garbage, or you see somebody half naked, everybody be there looking. But people don't like the truth. See, they don't like the truth. So they're not gonna come here. Trust me. I guarantee you. But you don't want them to come. Who you want are the children, but you just want to get this out. So continue to talk about your book. I'm gonna keep my mouth closed because I'm supposed to be interviewing you, not supposed to be taking over your program.
Oh no, it's okay. I know you're asking me questions, but yeah. So you were saying.
Read some of your book. Read some of it.
Read some of it.
Yes.
Let's see. Well, tell me, what do you want to know? Okay.
It's your book. Your work.
Let's see. Having unrealistic expectations in my childhood through adulthood placed a heavy burden on my shoulders and paved the way for living in an unbalanced, disorganized, negative thinking, and questionable life. I was expected to uphold the standards of the Bible every day, 24/7, unwavering and steadfast. I didn't know any better until about the age of 13. Then it really hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, wow, like this is too much. By the age of 13, I was well into middle school, and I did not talk to anyone at all because I did not know how to communicate outside of a church/religious environment. And that goes back to, what we were saying earlier. You can have friends and you talk, but your conversation and everything is centered around the end goal of coming to church. And, getting you saved because we're gonna go to heaven, when we die. So all of things that I used to think about, because I grew up growing up in the 80s and the 90s, that's when you had Will Smith and your Punky Brewster and TLC and Soul Train, all of that. But you better not get caught watching that, or listening to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that also breeded a spirit of sneakiness, because we still children and we still influenced by outside influences, but we know we can't listen to and watch this stuff at home, at least not when mom and daddy are there. So when the Walkmans came out, you had the headphones. No, this is a true story.
I'm laughing at my dumb ass because I was some similar to that kind of parent. I might not catch y'all watching this.
Right.
So I get it. I mean, I'm just as guilty as anybody else, you know. So I'm saying when you don't know any better, you don't. This is how you live your life.
Right.
And the way I grew up, you know, I grew up in the 50s, late 50s, where I was born in 1959, in the 60s and the 70s. You understand what I'm saying? And you know, I wasn't forced to go to church, but it's still that stigma, of that stench of Christianity was still there. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, in the black people's homes, you had three pictures. Pictures of a white Jesus, picture of John F. Kennedy, and a picture of Martin Luther King. Those are the three that were there.
Right, absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? So then you start, did y'all believe in Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, we celebrated Christmas. Yeah.
What about Easter?
We did.
Okay.
Oh, of course.
I'm just asking because you got to put all of that in the same.
Oh, yeah, Easter, you know, he rose.
Yeah.
He got up on the third day. I mean,
Then it changed his mind.
It's really not 3 days, but, you know, that's a conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely. Yeah, with that, like I said, with, you know, with the whole mindset and, you know, the whole adopting a spirit of, or a sense of, you know, being sneaky because you want to, you know, you want to be like everybody else, but then, you know, you're still being saved too. And later on in my life, that led to me leading what I would call a double life. Because when I'm away from home, you know, I'm dressing like I want to dress. You know, I'm wearing my pants. I didn't get my ears pierced till I was 27. You know, I was good and grown, but we couldn't wear makeup. You know, we couldn't wear pants. We couldn't wear jewelry. You know, couldn't do none of that. It's plain Jane all day. You know, the plainer you are, the meeker you are, and you know, you going on to heaven because you're not putting off that, I guess, spirit of lust or whatnot. But now, no, you looking nice. You know, you want to look nice. You don't want to look, you know, raggedy and crazy. Because believe, you know, one thing for sure, two things for certain. That man is gonna be dressed up. He's gonna be looking nice, and he's gonna be looking spiffy. And you looking over here looking like plain Jane. Oh, trust me, he looking at them other women. And you think you just, oh, I'm meek and mild. No, you looking crazy.
He looking at the girl. They were like two monkeys back there fighting in the plastic bag when she walking. Yeah.
Thank you. And you looking crazy.
Yeah.
You know, talking about, well, I'm just being meek. No.
So, let's get into some solutions. Okay? Because I don't want to divulge her book. I want you to go buy her book. Tell them where they can purchase the book at, please.
Well, I believe there's a link here for Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. The title is The Most Fascinating Person I've Never Met. So if you type in the title in Amazon, The Most Fascinating Person I've Never Met, then this will come up. That's how you can purchase the book. Or you can email me. My email address is charettmiller@gmail.com. CHARETTE Miller, MILLER @gmail.com.
Tell them about your Facebook page.
Oh, yes, the Facebook page for the book, of course, is the title of the book as well. The Most Fascinating Person I've Never Met. And that's our Facebook page. So you can DM me there. Also, if you want to purchase it directly from me, or you can purchase it on Amazon.
We're gonna shut this down a little bit.
Okay.
So, cause I'm holding you here, and I see you being uncomfortable.
Oh, me? No.
No, you're getting better now.
Oh.
But that's a part of it. It's those things that you begin to. It takes a long time to get that out of us, you know. But you've done good. You've done a lot better than I thought you was going to do based on what you said. And that's what this is about. You have to confront your tormentor. And this is an opportunity for you to confront your tormentor. You can confront King James.
Well, let me say something about, since you have this work here, you know, the words of Christ are written in red. I do want to say one thing, you know, about the Bible. And I always use this comparison, you know, if I'm talking to my family members or, you know, just, you know, a friend. When we're in kindergarten, you know, you have the notebook paper with the wide lines and the big fat pencils, and you know, you might have a book or two.
The knuckle busters.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's like, you know, you go to first grade, you know, you're a little more advanced. Second grade, third grade, a little more advanced. You don't have the big fat pencils in 3rd grade that you had in kindergarten. If you do, then there's a problem. And you certainly don't have it by the time you get to 12th grade.
Right.
If you do, then you're what?
Slow.
You're slow, right?
Yeah.
So I like to say that about the Bible here. Okay, it's 66 books. It's only so many times you can read it. But when you read it and you get that understanding, you have to go to the next step. I don't use the same book in kindergarten that I use in 12th grade. Then I'm remedial. So I'm not taking anything away, from this, but there's more.
I will.
Well, what I'm saying is that there's more, because where this came from, the truth, where this came from, you have to go back there. There's other documents, there are other books, there are other publications that we can use. You got your Strong's Concordance, you have, the Apocrypha, you have all these other documents, and we don't even acknowledge that in the church. It's this, the Bible, and that's it, for 30, 40, 50, sometimes 60 years. And you telling me this is all that you're reading?
Well, the Bible is a true book if you understand it, but the Bible is written in a lot of symbolism. So, like if you look at the book of Genesis, and it said, and I'm going to bring this to a close in a minute. It said, "Let us make man," right?
Right.
Who is the us? So when you ask that question, who is the us? What do people tell you? That was God and Jesus. That's God and Jesus. So you ask the question, who was here first? Adam or Jesus? Yeah. Make you think. Okay. Out of stupidity, they're going to say Jesus. Well, how was Jesus here first when he don't show up to over here in the New Testament? Well, he was already here with God in the beginning. Where was he? He was a spirit. So he was a spirit, then he became a baby. And then he started running from people who were trying to kill him. Okay. Yeah, but you got to believe in Jesus so you can go to heaven in Jesus' name. Was Moses a good man? Yes or no?
Was Moses a good man?
Yes.
I would say yes.
Okay. I mean, based on religious doctrine.
I would say yes.
Did Moses die?
I don't know. I don't know.
See, this is what religion does.
I will say this. I will say as much
I'm asking you the question. Did Moses die?
Well, he's not still living, so he must have died.
Okay, so every man lives and every man dies. That's my point. Okay, so Moses, we know that Moses was a good man. We also know that Moses died.
If he had existed.
Who was here first, Moses or Jesus?
According to religion, according to what I've been taught, Jesus.
No, but I'm asking you in reality, who was here first, Moses or Jesus? Walking the earth.
I don't know. Moses.
Right. Moses.
I don't know. Yeah.
Moses was here first. Moses was here, then Jesus came 2,000 years after Moses.
Okay.
All right? So if Moses was here first, and he was, and Moses was a good man, and he was, and Moses died, and he did, and if he was a good man, did his job by God, walked the earth, and he died, then whose name did he go to heaven in? What about Noah? Who was here first? Noah or Jesus? So you start going in there and you start unearthing and you realize, oh my gracious.
Yeah, you're going down a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Well, you better go down that hole.
Right. No, I've been.
I'm not saying you better. I'm talking about. We're just talking about the audience now.
Right. Well, I've asked people, and I've asked the audience. Like I love history. I love museums. I love all of that. And as many museums as I have visited, and you've seen mummies, and you've seen even the bones from the original man. The Asiatic man, the Neanderthal. Have you ever seen any bones of any biblical character? Moses, Noah, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, David, King Nebuchadnezzar.
Well,
I haven't.
Jesus' body is entombed in Umar's temple.
I'm asking about.
No, I'm saying to you because even, see, this is the other part. Even when you escape the falsehood of the religion that you were raised up in, more times out of not, a person's still not able to find the truth. So they go pick up another falsehood. Through research, through museum, it still falls up underneath a form of deception. But now, because it's many steps to deceiving people. Okay, we're going to deceive you because you're just blind, deaf, and dumb. You're going to take everything that we have on face value. That's one form of deception. Okay? Because he got 6 days to do it. So that's 6,000 years to do it now. So he ain't going to do the same thing in the year 1 that he's going to do in the year 4050. Every step of the way, they increase and become scientific in engineering and deception. So they can give you bones and rocks and things of that nature and say, yeah, this is the original man. Well, how do you know that? You really don't. It's still a form of deception because they're still keeping you away from the reality of God, who is a man, not a spirit. So I don't need to see no bones. I don't need in it. So I don't need proof of none of that. If man is not God and God is not man, try to get rid of his ass. See what happens. Get rid of man. See what you got. You get rid of man, you ain't got nothing. That proves that man is God. Proves it. But it's two gods on the scene. Righteous God and the wicked God. The wicked God got you in that state. Because we gave him dominion to do that. So now you're going to confront your accuser. You're going to confront your tormentor. Not your parents. That's a whole nother thing. Not your siblings and so on and so forth, because I was raised up in, the way I was raised up, I would never go back to my mom and my dad, rest in peace, and say, why the hell y'all teach me them lies? I wouldn't do that to my parents. I wouldn't. That wouldn't be right for me to do it. But what I do, how I confront my accuser is with the truth. So I get everybody. So mama go, damn boy, you kind of deep. You heavy. I'm going to always believe in what I believe in, but you something special. My mama told me this. Had me crying like a baby because she acknowledged. And some people they're going to believe that way until they die. And it's okay. Because it takes a long time to get this falsehood out. This is why it's criminal what was done to you. It's criminal. It's a crime.
That's why I decided to put it on paper. And that's just the start. So like I said, if it resonates, with you or anybody out there, then my job is done.
Yeah, this is a damn good book. So I would suggest, you go to the Facebook page, the most fascinating person I've never met. Explain that title, because that's important. The title. Why did you choose that title?
Actually, I can't take credit for that title. That actually is off of it was a line in the movie Flight from Denzel Washington.
Okay.
So that's
so what? But why you chose it?
Because it's like you had mentioned earlier, before we got on camera, it's important to know who you are and what you are and which one is more important. So when I started, to write and to talk about, myself and talk to myself about myself and knowing this, it's like your resume. You know, when you write, write everything on your resume, you're like, wow, I'm pretty awesome. You know, I'm pretty
Right.
fascinating.
There you go.
You know?
There you go. Now we talking,
So
goddammit.
like,
Now we
oh.
talking. There you go. That's what I want. That's what I want them to get. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Keep going.
I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm pretty fascinated.
Right.
You know, and I need to know who I am, not who I was told to be. I need to know who I am.
Thank you very much. That's what I want you to get out you.
Yeah, thank you.
Because that's very important. You realize how fascinating, how great you really are. And that's what religion does. It suppresses your own greatness because they don't want you to worship that which does not exist. And as long as they can keep you looking up in the sky for heaven and for God and looking under the ground for hell and the devil, then they can control everything on top of the ground.
Right, and you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it.
Well, then you can be broke. So that's why people are crazy now. Most people, especially black people, they're going batshit crazy because they're competing with one another to see who's going to achieve the most in this world of Babylon. So the whole point, Ms. Miller, is that, okay, you escape this up to this point. You still got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. That's the reality.
Yes, I still miss church.
I know you do.
I do. I do.
That's the poison.
I do.
You know, I mean, I used to, run the streets. When I came out the streets, I was so bad, Kes was sending me thank you cards. We're glad his ass off the streets. And every now and then, I'm like, shit, I'm going to, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, whatever. And I'm like, no, I ain't going back out there and do none of that crazy stuff. Because that's what it does. It consumes you. So you got to replace it with something else.
Right.
And what you replace it with? You replace it with the will of God. Because there's two gods. That's the whole war that's going in your mind, truth versus falsehood. So you replace it. So it's not enough to escape falsehood. You have to also go and discover truth. And like you lived in falsehood, you also got to live in truth.
Okay, there you have it. Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes, sir.
So thank you for tuning in, and I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to, post this. This has been here almost an hour,
Yeah,
believe it or not.
good stuff. Good stuff.
So,
thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me.
thank you.
Until next time.
In the live video. See, any minute people come on in.
No, it's okay. Because it's in the middle of the day. It's okay.
Shit. 52 minutes. Oh, hold that for me. Let's turn it off.
Okay. Alrighty. Get home to these children.